Hello, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to another Joseph Morris live stream. If you're new here, I am a Prince Andrew case discussion channel. So if you're into updates about Prince Andrew and his upcoming trial, which he vehemently denies any wrongdoing, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you never miss a live. And don't forget to press like on my video. It really helps out my channel. And I find when I say press like, you guys actually press like. So I really appreciate everybody, hanging in there as we come up with the updates. So last night, my power actually went out in my house. So I didn't have an opportunity to really do an update last night. So here I am, bright and early, 9 a.m. Northeastern time, doing an update. And if you want to sound off with some speculation, and I love speculation, and I'm going to be clear what is speculation and what's not, you can do so in the chat right here. Or if you're watching at a later date, leave it in the comments below. I do actually follow up a lot on what you guys say. And I really enjoy reading all your gossip, whatever you have to say, following up on it, looking into it. That's what I'm here for. I love reading all your comments and I try to read every single one. So thank you so much for being here and staying tuned with everything I'm doing. This is my co-host, Gabby. She is lovely. We are fans of the Queen here. And you know what? I have a really nice update about the Queen. The Queen is apparently not going to be funding any sort of payout done to Virginia Giuffre, or she's not going to be paying for Prince Andrew's lawyer fees. And as we all know, Prince Andrew is using a high-profile Hollywood lawyer that has defended Armie Hammer and I think even Bill Cosby at times. So this guy isn't cheap, and the Queen Elizabeth put her foot down to her favorite son and said, no, I am not financing this mess that you're in. So what does Prince Andrew have to do? He has to sell his chalet. We'll get into that, but it's pretty crazy. And that explains a lot as to why they're all vacationing at the chalet, because these are the final moments, and he's going to be riding around in his really expensive SUV that costs 100 pounds too, because he most likely will have to sell that as well. And I was just looking into this the other day. Since that 2019 disastrous interview on the BBC, he has stepped down from royal duties where he said he couldn't sweat. And it was like the laughing stock of literally the world. I mean, hey, I'm still talking about it, and I am a part of the Commonwealth, but, not in the UK. However, I'm actually from the Republic of Ireland, so a lot of people are going to tune out, but we're not a part of you in the UK. Anyway, so we're still talking about that to this day. And after that disastrous interview, which you can still look up on YouTube, on BBC, where he said he couldn't sweat and all these things, and said he went to a shooting weekend with Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein and brought them to the palace and even brought Kevin Spacey to the Buckingham Palace. I mean, this person, he thought he did a great job. And that is so bizarre. And we're still talking about it today. I mean, the self-awareness this guy lacks is literally a huge joke. But what's not funny are the new claims brought to him by a new accuser. If you guys were paying attention to the Ghislaine Maxwell case, yes, I pronounce her Ghislaine Maxwell because it is a British name. French people, I'm French Canadian. I'm from Quebec. We pronounce it Ghislaine Maxwell, but it's actually Ghislaine Maxwell because I think she's from the UK. You guys can roast me in the comments about my pronunciation. And if you come here for pronunciation, I'm sorry, it's a wrong channel for you. I get it wrong all the time. There's still, the jury's out on Virginia Giuffre or Giuffre. I say Giuffre. Anyway, moving on. A lot of people just say she's Roberts, but that's her unmarried name. But I call her Virginia Giuffre out of respect for her and what she wants to be called. She's an icon. More on her in a bit. But Virginia Giuffre is seriously, she's one to be reckoned with. She is a boss. I love her. I'm obsessed, and more on why I'm obsessed with her, but she is just being so savage and I love to see it. So let's get into the new accuser for Prince Andrew. And this is what I said a couple videos ago. The moment there's more accusers happening against Prince Andrew, the ball is just going to keep rolling. It's just going to keep going. More people are going to bring to court. And the thing with Virginia Giuffre is that she's allegedly going to bring 6 witnesses into the testimony. And with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, we all saw that the testimonies of 4 women were enough to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. And one of the person was the only one that came out with her real name. The other three were pseudonyms. The other three didn't say the real name, although the defense were very savage and actually were doxing them in the middle of the court. However, now we know one of the real names. And this lady, her name during the Ghislaine Maxwell case was Carolyn. Carolyn did something very brave the other day and came out and started using her real name, waived her right for anonymity, and basically came out with a real name. And what is so strange about the Ghislaine Maxwell case, Prince Andrew wasn't really named throughout the case. It was only named with Jane. Jane was the only one who named Prince Andrew in her testimony. And Prince Andrew's name didn't really come up too much in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. But we do know now that there's another accuser of Prince Andrew, and it's basically corroborating this testimony by Virginia Giuffre. So let's get into it. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. Don't forget to press like, sound off on your right-hand side what you guys think. I'm going to be reading your comments as well. So let's get into it. So this is from Virginia Roberts told me she met with Andrew in London. Witness in Ghislaine Maxwell trial makes sensational new claim against the Duke of York as she reveals a full story about her ordeal in Epstein's house of sin. So this lady came out and basically is siding with Virginia Giuffre and basically proving that Virginia Giuffre is not lying. And I'm going to get into the comments, and my dog is being really cute. She's looking at me. She's like, why are you so obsessed with this? Because I love to see it. I love seeing this happen. Women standing together is very touching to me, to be honest. You know, Jeffrey Epstein's, I'm going to use some spaghetti person, lover. Okay, lover. Jeffrey Epstein's forced lover claims Virginia Roberts told her she met with Prince Andrew in London. So this is basically corroborating everything Virginia Roberts had to say. So Prince Andrew is being named by Carolyn, who underwent a pseudonym up until this point, and she waived her right to anonymity and basically broke this to the Daily Mail. And it's a big lead because up until this point, there has been nobody coming forward and corroborating Virginia Roberts or Virginia Giuffre's claims. So Virginia Roberts told a fellow Jeffrey Epstein worker, I'm going to use some safe for work language here, Jeffrey Epstein worker, that she met with Prince Andrew in London. It was claimed last night. So this is breaking news. This happened last night. The then 17-year-old is also said to have shown the infamous picture of her posing at Ghislaine Maxwell's home with the Queen's second son and also the Queen's favorite son. So Carolyn Andriano is her name. She only went by Carolyn up until this point in the Ghislaine Maxwell case, but she is coming forward to support her friend and also fellow coworker, Virginia Giuffre, in this case, and basically corroborating the claims made against Prince Andrew, writing, Miss Roberts is alleged to have shown the picture to Mrs Andriano back in Florida, saying of the prince, I got to meet with him. So she's 35 years old now, and she gave her testimony of the last trial. And now Ghislaine Maxwell is facing up to 65 years in prison, and her sentencing is still awaiting. Ghislaine Maxwell is being kept in a maximum security prison under watch because of what happened to her former lover, Epstein. So she is being watched like a hawk right now. So she bravely relieves her legal right. And here's the thing about Virginia Giuffre is she actually was the one who actually recruited Caroline. And the thing about Prince Andrew is going to be savage in his defense, as we all know they are. But he's basically going to use the fact that Virginia Giuffre helped recruit for Epstein against Virginia Giuffre, and basically use that as like a way to devalue what she's saying, a way to poke holes in her story. Like, Virginia Giuffre, you're coming after me? Well, you're the one that actually helped Epstein. Well, you know, this is the thing, and I just want to say this. She was 17 years old. She was a child. She was also in a traumatic situation. You're not thinking straight. You know, you can't use that against her. She's not even 18. in a lot of societies, she's considered not able to, use her full brain. Her brain is still developing. Like, this is a child we're talking about. To like use that against her, I think is so wrong. But Prince Andrew, his defense is most likely going to be using that against her. And of course, it was a criminal trial, and we only got pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell in court. We still don't know too much about her little black book. That is Prince Andrew driving around in his SUV, not for long. Of course, that's him meeting with Epstein. After Epstein got out of jail for his 14-month sentence. It was a 14-month sentence he did for abusing all those young girls. So going on, Carolyn, her account of her conversations with Miss Roberts is the first time there has been any contemporary and independent report of the meeting with the Duke of York. So this is the first time there has ever been another report that corroborates Virginia Giuffre's claims. So this is a big deal. And that's why I came on here and started discussing it. So right now, Prince Andrew is trying to get this case against him dismissed. He doesn't want to go to court at all over this case. And because it's basically going to drag his name through the mud. His reputation has already been damaged so severely because of this. And he just basically wants to keep all the testimonies out of court. Everybody wants to make sure that he is not actually going to court because it's going to bring more issues to his name. And he just wants to keep it out of court. What are you guys saying? This is why they got rid of Epstein, Mobius writes. Exactly. Mobius, you bring up a really good point. This is why they got rid of Epstein because, this is something I also want to discuss a little bit here is the FBI is in possession of all these hard drives full of these crimes. Then why is it that more people aren't being arrested is absolutely insane. Hi, V. George. Thank you so much for being here. How many people are here right now? Let me just look. I don't normally check in. Wow, 1,200 people. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. So we do have a new accuser coming forward about Prince Andrew, and the ball is only going to get worse for Prince Andrew. He's trying to keep this out of court because this is going to bring the momentum needed to basically put the nail in the coffin for Prince Andrew and basically, in some ways, single-handedly destroy the monarchy because this is going to be dragging their name through the mud. He wants to keep this out of the courts simply because he doesn't want people knowing his dirty laundry, his dirty business. But I'm exposing it on my channel. There's a lot of stuff that I think the monarchy is actually trying to cover up. There's a unsolved murder on the Queen's estate that's still covered up. She was 17 years old. She's the same age as Virginia Giuffre. It's around the same time that Prince Andrew actually was hanging out with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It was a Latvian girl. We still don't have answers for that. Are the Queen, all their monarchy trying to cover up this unsolved murder? We also have them trying to squash the Prince William affair with In Touch Weekly. There is actually evidence about Prince William's affair with Rose Hanbury that has been squashed by the monarchy. So they're trying to keep this out of the courts. We also have Prince Andrew doing an unprecedented move where he basically says, I do not want any testimony being disclosed to the media during this Virginia Giuffre civil lawsuit. But that is not appropriate. All the information is going to come out. Prince Andrew, if you're watching this, crazier things have happened, but you're done, buddy. You're done. This is going to court. This is actually going to, have a lot of people coming forward, more people coming forward. And one of those people right now is not using her pseudonym anymore. It's Carolyn. She's up here. Carolyn has, since being dealt with Prince Andrew, has led a very rough life. More on that in a bit. But her account of her conversations with Miss Roberts is the first time there has been any independent report of the claims against Prince Andrew. So it is very interesting. Mrs Andriano said, I asked if she had been to the palace, and she said, I got to meet with him. Of course, I'm using other words. I got to spaghetti with him. I said, what? You're kidding me. And she said, no, I got to spaghetti with him. She didn't seem upset about it. She thought it was pretty cool. So again, if we want to go down here, and this is, in my opinion, robots, way down at the bottom here. If you go to the comments section here, she was 17 at the time and in London. She was above the age of consent. She boasted she was going to dinner with Prince Andrew, which strikes me as a willingness to do so as much as Prince Andrew disgusts me. I still can't help but think she was a willing participant and definitely not forced. This is upvoted 7,000 times. And to me, honestly, that feels like a robot. It feels like there's literally people, Prince Andrew's team is going on record and trying to sway public opinion about him. And I wouldn't be surprised. And I wonder how much that costs, because that is not something that I think would be out of Prince Andrew's grasp to do. He could literally pay a PR team to infiltrate Daily Mail comments and upvote them. So I just think it's kind of weird. But going on, Mrs Andriano is the one who's basically making these claims against Prince Andrew. She's stepping forward right now. She stepped forward last night. Again, my power was out last night, so I couldn't do this update. But this is breaking news. I'm the first one to talk about it on YouTube, actually. I did a little research. So if you're into like breaking news, case discussion updates, please make sure you hit subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live, because you guys get to hang out with me and sound off right here and talk about all your speculation as well. But this is breaking news where basically there is somebody who's corroborating Virginia Roberts' story. So she writes, I waived my right to anonymity. I am doing this because I want all young women to know what happened to me when I was a teenager and how it has affected my life. I want to be a voice for all survivors of spaghetti so that they are not afraid to come forward, even if it is years after the event, and say what happened to them. This is my story and I want to tell it, she writes. So she wants to tell her story about what had happened to her. She was 14 years old when all this happened to her, when all this disgusting things happened to her. And she's basically standing with Virginia Roberts. She goes on to say that Virginia Roberts and her are actually not even close at all. So she's actually going out on a whim. And this is the thing about Prince Andrew and his team, is Prince Andrew is known to, well, Ghislaine Maxwell is known to threaten everybody who comes forward. They're known to threaten like whoever comes forward to basically, you know, shut them up. And you know what? This is why YouTube is important. I don't see too many huge names talking about this new accuser against Prince Andrew, and probably for a reason. They're afraid to get sued. So if I go missing, you know what happened? It's because I talked about Prince Andrew. And if I go missing, please take care of my little dog here, because she is very sweet. So this is a lot of bravery right now by Carolyn, basically coming forward and speaking out against this, because these people are scared and they have a right to be. I mean, getting threatened, getting all these lawsuits against you. You know, the monarchy is playing very dirty right now and trying to keep everybody's names out of their mouth. There's more speculation that they're putting a bunch of fake stories out there to basically gaslight the royal public against the scandals that are happening inside. But let's get into it. Earlier this week, Maxwell's lawyers demanded a retrial after one of the jurors who convicted her of trumping confessed to being a spaghetti victim. So prosecutors who put Maxwell behind bars asked the trial judge for an investigation into the admission by Scotty David. So again, this is weird, and I kind of wanted to talk about this later, but I think Scotty David was paid off to basically cause a mistrial, because more on that in a bit, but he actually worked for an investment company by Jeffrey Epstein. So it's possible that, you know, with the Maureen Comey, who is the one who actually lost the Epstein tapes, being a lead prosecutor, I think this entire trial was rigged. And at the very last minute, they pulled this string where it was causing a mistrial. But let's get into the new accuser by Prince Andrew. Virginia Giuffre told me she spaghettied with Prince Andrew just days after the trip to London with Jeffrey Epstein. Key witness at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial bravely waives her anonymity and makes a sensational new claim. So Carolyn Andriano is her name. She was listening to music when she was 14 years old when Virginia texted her. She writes Virginia's text, and I wonder if Carolyn still has this text, but she writes, "You'll never guess who I'm with," it read. Carolyn knew this was going to be a juicy bit of gossip and was quick to respond. "Who?" she replied. A text pinged back immediately. She said, "I'm in London with Jeffrey and Maxwell and Prince Andrew." Carolyn recalls. She said they were going to have dinner. I kind of didn't believe her, but I had no reason not to. I thought it was far-fetched, but then again, she knew wealthy people and had to be fancy parties and stuff like that. So this is Virginia Giuffre recruited Carolyn when she was just 14 years old. And this is a picture of her at age 8, but it's just kind of disturbing that they're talking about, being with older men and she is 14. I mean, this is very disturbing kind of behavior. So it's basically corroborating Prince Andrew's story. And then they were a part of the depraved couple's harem of vulnerable teens and young women recruited by Maxwell to provide spaghetti favors for Epstein. Carolyn was a key prosecution witness at Maxwell's trial. Then she gave evidence only as Carolyn, but she is now bravely waiving her legal right to anonymity to speak exclusively to the male. And she is corroborating the story presented by Virginia Giuffre that Prince Andrew was a awful, awful guy. So keen to tell the image, Carolyn feels like it was on mobile phone. So it's talking about the image basically and talking about, this is where allegedly all the altercations took place was in this Miami home. And there's actually a walkthrough online. I don't know if you guys want to watch this walkthrough together, but it's basically like this Palm Beach beautiful house. Well, it could be a beautiful house, but Jeffrey Epstein made it into such a disgusting, almost looks like a hostel. The way he decorated it was so bad, but that's because literally this is where all the events would come down between him and these young girls. And it was decorated as such. There's photos on the wall of, very scandalous pictures of young essentially on the wall all over, and the entire thing was just messy and gross, and there's like weird dingy couches, and this is a beautiful home, but he decorated it in such a bizarre way. So this is the first time there has been a independent account of Virginia's purported recollection of her meeting with the Duke of York that night in March 2001, which of course Duke of York says he has no recollection, and he was at Pizza Express in Woking. That is something that has not been corroborated. He was allegedly with Princess Beatrice, his daughter, but even Princess Beatrice says, I don't remember that. So, I don't really like talking about QAnon conspiracies, Q conspiracies, but it is kind of weird that Pizzagate is actually a thing in this. But moving on, he denies that ever happening. Andrew is currently waiting to hear whether a judge will throw out Miss Giuffre's civil lawsuit against him, but it's not looking too good. I mean, right now, the Judge Kaplan has a lot of issues with Prince Andrew's, attempts. First, he said he never got the lawsuit. Then he said it's out of jurisdiction because Virginia Giuffre is Australian. Judge Kaplan said no. And now he's arguing a 2009 settlement, which he wasn't supposed to be a party to, is his way of getting out of it. But Judge Kaplan is having none of it. This is most likely going to go to the civil lawsuit. And the thing about Virginia Giuffre is she says no to any sort of settlement. She wants to actually see this go to court, and more on that in a bit. So yeah, Carolyn says, are you serious? And she said, yeah. I asked if she got paid to do it, and she never gave me an answer. So yeah, basically Carolyn is basically accusing Prince Andrew of all of this, and it's not looking good for Prince Andrew. It's not looking good today. And this is the thing. Carolyn is a life-worn 35-year-old married mother of 5. She's still living in Palm Beach, but here's the thing. She has since got into a lot of problems herself. She was basically in trouble with the law, and there's a brief thaw when she hears how the jury trusted her every word. She was one of the testifiers against Ghislaine Maxwell. And so she turned to drugs and drink and suffered mental health issues. She takes a cocktail of medication just to get through the day. She writes, I was in the industry, the spaghetti industry. It was easy. That was what I was taught. And I figured it was the easiest way to get money for the drugs. I felt worthless. I felt like I was just put here on earth to be used and abused. I looked at myself in the mirror one time and just cried and cried. There's no amount of money in the world that would ever mend what was stolen, my innocence as a child, by Maxwell and Epstein, who had been in cahoots for God knows how many years. I have children, and I know as a mother and as a woman, there's no way I could ever do something along the lines of what Maxwell has done. So basically, she is saying that this has impacted her life. She is left broken because of all of this that happened to her. And she remembers Virginia as bubbly and friendly. She had a way of making me feel comfortable, and I trusted her. We became friends right away. I thought she would have been my best interest no matter what at heart. She knew how old I was, and she knew I came from a broken home. So that's the thing about Epstein and everybody who is involved with Epstein. Let me just check in on the chat. Basically, oh my goodness, there's 3,000 people here. Thank you so much for joining me. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. This is crazy. I had a power outage at my place last night, so I wasn't able to do this update. And I was like, let me just wake up in the morning and do this update. So there has been a new accuser coming forward, Carolyn, who basically corroborates the story made against Prince Andrew, that Prince Andrew was a predator of young girls. And this lady was 14 years old when she met Prince Andrew. So, this is why Prince Andrew wants to keep this out of court, is because the moment this goes to court, the moment the ball keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, more people are going to come forward. The monarchy is possibly going to be very hurt by this. The damage has already been done. The Queen Elizabeth is basically throwing her son under the bus. She says, if you want to pay for these lawyers, you're going to have to pay for them yourself. You're going to have to sell that $17 million pound chalet that I paid for, that the UK public, you guys watching, have paid for. And this is the issue here. This is what I have an issue with. Prince Andrew stepped back from royal duties in 2019 after that disastrous BBC interview. He still gets paid £323,000 a year for doing what? He's unemployed. How is he still getting this much money? How? I don't understand. You don't work. You live off your mom. And the thing about this is that Prince Andrew is facing the civil lawsuit in court. Right? In court. His family goes and they go on that vacation without him. They're in that chalet without him. Why were they in that chalet without him? Because that's the very last moments they're going to be spending in that chalet without him. That chalet is getting sold. And, Fergie, it may come to his defense. I'm reading articles about that Fergie may be coming to his defense. So bombshell new witness to testify in Prince Andrew civil case. Today's show. Yeah, exactly. Bombshell new witness. There you go. So this was September 28th, 2021. Interesting. So this is Carolyn. Take a breather. Joseph will read your chats. $320K to be a family embarrassment. Wow. Jinx of all trades. So let's continue on with my show. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I really wasn't expecting this many people. But Carolyn is the one who's going to come forward and testify against Prince Andrew. There's going to be 6 testimonies against Prince Andrew. One of them is now Carolyn. So at 14 years old, I was bigger, and I definitely could pass for 21 when I was made up. I did my own makeup, but Virginia gave me my clothes. She gave me these really tight shorts with a spaghetti strap top with everything hanging out. And so here's the thing. She actually goes into what she talked about in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and it is very disturbing, so I do want to give a little bit of a warning here. But this is what she testified in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and she's basically talking to the media right now about everything that went down in the Ghislaine Maxwell Epstein house, and it's very disturbing. So she writes, she instructed Virginia to bring her upstairs and show her what to do. They went to Epstein's bathroom where Virginia set up a massage table. Epstein came in. He said just came back from a jog. He brushed his teeth, gave Virginia a kiss on the cheek, looked at me, introduced himself. He took off his shorts and his shirt and laid on top of the massage table face down. And I looked at Virginia and she eye motioned to me to say, don't worry, it will be okay. 45 minutes into the massage, he flipped over and then Virginia climbed on top of him and whatever. So again, $300 bills were handed over as payment for her time. And Carolyn returned to the house about 100 times over the next 4 years, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. Cash would be laid on the sink in the bathroom. She kept coming back because $300 was a lot of money when you're 14. So this is the thing about Prince Andrew, right? Prince Andrew, he may actually be not, he's paying into this by him actually going to the Epstein to use his services, because Epstein was pretty much, you know, a dealer of young girls. He's supporting this criminal behavior. He's the one who is supporting all these other industries that come along with this, with purchasing these behaviors. So he's actually supporting crime. He's supporting gangs. He's supporting people dying, essentially the destruction of society. You know, this goes far beyond just these people being impacted on a personal level, because that is an issue that is brought up here with Virginia Giuffre. She's actually suing Prince Andrew, not as a crime, not as a criminal. She's suing him on a civil lawsuit for emotional distress and battery. Those are the two things she's suing over. And we're talking about Carolyn too here. Carolyn too is a victim of Prince Andrew pretty much, because Prince Andrew was supporting this sort of behavior that I just read. This is the kind of stuff that Carolyn was 14 years old when she witnessed. And she says her innocence has been stolen from her because of this funding by all these huge and powerful people, including Prince Andrew. So this is very problematic. And, you know, I really hope that this is, Prince Andrew's name is dragged through the mud. I told her there was no way my mom was going to leave me, let the country. I told her I was 14. So basically they are being flown around the world. She writes, I had rosary beads in my hands for the entire time, and my husband was in the courtroom, and every time I felt like I was getting weak, he would give me a little thumbs up or I clenched the beads. I was determined to have the strength to have this woman put away for what she did to me and other young women. And that's the thing. Prince Andrew is supporting Epstein and Ghislaine. And, you know, there's still that unsolved murder on the Queen's grounds. That was a 17-year-old. What happened to that? Sure, they accused me of lying, but I knew that was coming and I stood up to it because I was telling the truth. So she basically testified against Ghislaine Maxwell and helped secure the nail in the coffin for Ghislaine Maxwell. But here's the thing about Ghislaine Maxwell is that there's actually a jury, Johnny, who opened his loud mouth and started talking to the press. And this is what he said that everybody is having issues with. And this is basically possibly causing a mistrial. Johnny, the juror, let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here. Please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live.
So it took to day 3 for you to really reach that level of understanding with each other and then make true progress with the deliberations? Would that be
correct?
A fair assessment?
Yes.
So you decided to share your story. Presumably that's something that you'd tick yes to in the questionnaire. It was something that people were aware of when you were selected as a juror.
No, they don't ask your... they didn't ask it in the questionnaire.
I thought in the questionnaire there was a question that asked if you were or if you were a friend or a relative. Pretty sure it was number 48.
I don't remember.
Somebody sent me the questionnaire today and there was a question.
Interesting.
I mean, I guess, when did you fill in that questionnaire?
I definitely, on the first day of jury selection, I would have definitely marked yes, but I honestly don't remember that question.
You're not in the stand right now, too.
No. I mean, I know my face is red because I can feel the blood, but I honestly, that's why I answered it that way. I don't remember it being there, but I did answer, I definitely remember a family or relative or something, but I was honest on all my questions.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, in case you're wondering about the audio, I did have to censor it quite drastically because of whatnot. I just want to read a super chat right now. Thank you so much, MT Houston, Texas. I finally caught you live. Love your channel. Hooked everything since Gabby coverage. Thanks for your advocacy. You know, and that's the thing, right? Thank you so much. That means a lot because I feel like the public isn't getting the full story when it comes to Prince Andrew. I feel a lot of it has been covered up, and more on that in a bit. But Johnny the juror, I did have to censor out a lot what he's saying, but he's basically saying the spaghetti that happened against him when he was a child wasn't on the questionnaire. So they had to do this questionnaire. He was juror number 50, question number 48. And right now it said that he answered no to question number 48. And he's going on the record and saying that he doesn't remember that question, but that question is now causing a mistrial for Ghislaine Maxwell. And this actually was really helpful in the Prince Andrew case because that sets a precedence for Prince Andrew getting convicted of all the allegations made up against him. So it is pretty crazy that this is, being tossed out after it became almost precedence. And why is that? Well, I have some speculation and I do want to talk about this speculation, but this is kind of questionable because when I look at his testimony, I actually kind of see that maybe he's lying because he turns red right here. And this looks like an act to me. And I know I'm just being a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but is it possible that he was actually paid off to cause a mistrial? I mean, we talk about Maureen Comey being the lead prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. She was the one who lost the Epstein tapes from his jail cell. So she was also the daughter of James Comey, who was actually fired by Donald Trump. So there's something fishy going on here. And what are the chances? This looks like an act to me. I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys think. This looks like an act. Let me just play this part again. It is censored because of, he talks about being spaghettied, but let's listen.
I mean, I guess, when did you fill in that questionnaire?
I definitely, on the first day of jury selection, I would have definitely marked yes, but I honestly don't remember that question.
Because you're not the son.
See, his wrinkles in his face, like if I'm being I don't really believe in body language, but this kind of looks like, I don't know, it just kind of looks like an act to me.
No.
And when he smiles, he's not actually smiling.
I know my face is red because I can feel the blood, but
and I think he's getting red because he's getting caught acting. Like I feel like he feels embarrassed. I don't know.
That's why
something about it just feels off.
I don't remember it being there, but I did answer. I definitely remember a family or relative or something, but I was honest on all my questions.
Oh, yeah.
So very weird. And I did some digging and this is what I found. I found something very interesting about Johnny the juror. He writes, Ghislaine Maxwell juror who could upend conviction works for Carlyle Group. The Carlyle Group is a group that Jeffrey Epstein himself has invested in. Jeffrey Epstein was an early investor for Carlyle Group. So is there a connection there where Jeffrey Epstein actually paid off, or his estate paid off this juror to basically overthrow the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell to save Prince Andrew? Because the Prince Andrew civil lawsuit is going to be, there's going to be a precedence being set from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial that has now have a mistrial. So the timing of it all was Virginia Giuffre is going to sue Prince Andrew after the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict because that basically helps her case. But now because of this juror who worked for Jeffrey Epstein at one time, all of a sudden overthrows the trial. I'm just not buying it. The timing of events is absolutely crazy. So Carlyle Group, Epstein was a early investor, and Prince Andrew has a secret weapon on his legal defense team, ex-wife Fergie. And thanks to you guys for sounding off on the right-hand side here, but I didn't realize this about Fergie. Fergie still lives with Prince Andrew, which is crazy. So they're actually separated or divorced, and Prince Andrew still lives with her. And Fergie could come forward for Prince Andrew. So Prince Andrew right here, the defense team of embattled Prince Andrew has a secret member, his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, who still lives with Prince Andrew. They're still together. This is crazy to me. And she is still referred to as the Duchess of York. Not for long, because hopefully when I'm praying that even though with all these setbacks with the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and the Juror, that Prince Andrew still gets convicted in a civil lawsuit and all of his titles are stripped. We're talking about the military titles. I think he has like 9 titles for fighting in the Falkland War. And those could be stripped from him. And the military are actually saying that he's toxic, and they feel uncomfortable when they toast to him. So hopefully his titles, Duke of York, is removed, and Fergie's titles, Duchess of York, is removed too. This chalet is probably going to get sold as well. So hopefully the Queen Elizabeth stops the gravy train. So multiple sources told the Post that Fergie, known as Sarah, Duchess of York, not for long, since her divorce from the Queen's second son in 1996, is so supportive of Andrew that she had been in the room with him and his legal team during strategy sessions. Talk about brainwash. Quote, no one from inside Buckingham Palace has been involved in Prince Andrew's case or even knows anything much, said one senior royal source. It's really just the Duke of York, Fergie, and his lawyers. So again, Prince Andrew is going to be bringing, how many people are here? Fergie, oh my goodness, I'm getting super chats. Thank you so much. Rose Drays, thank you so much. Michelle Weegirl, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. Wow, I was not expecting this. I actually had a power outage last night and I couldn't actually do my live stream. And I was like, let me just cam up, and maybe from the UK, people from the UK, because I know you have a time difference there, are going to be here. So thank you so much, guys, for being here and supporting me. I really appreciate that. And I'm new to a lot of the UK gossip because I'm from the Republic of Ireland and I moved to Canada and I actually live in Quebec. So, you know, I'm far removed from it and I'm just learning all about this now. And I really enjoy reading all your speculation and following up on it. Someone actually tipped me off about the Duchess of York actually being divorced and why does she still have the title? And then she's also living with Prince Andrew. And now, you know, all this has hit the fan and she's still living with him. She's still going on vacation with him to the chalet in that area with all of his money. How is that still a thing? I don't know. I'm reading your chats right now. I love this channel. It's 2:41 in the afternoon here in England. 2:41. It is 9:41 right now on the East Coast. So that's funny. 2:41. You know, 2:41 is nap time. I don't know if that's tea time for you guys, but over here it's nap time. I like to take naps around 2:41. So thank you so much for being here. This is the information that I'm getting right now about Duchess of York still living with Prince Andrew, and she's going to come to his defense. And so here's the thing about Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew turns out to be a bully. I don't know if you know this about him, but the royal staff are all afraid of him. And there's actually this article that I was reading the other day that Prince Harry had issues with him demanding mangoes. Let me see if I can find it, because this is pretty funny. And I think it actually kind of speaks to Prince Andrew and the way he rules. He rules with an iron fist. So Prince Harry, Andrew. So there's this article, Prince Harry shocked when Andrew barked at staff to get his mangoes. And I think this mango bit is kind of leading into how he rules and how people are basically scared of him and what his true personality is like. There's all these smear campaigns about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but I think it's actually just hiding the fact that Prince Andrew has skeletons in his closet. There are scandals happening with him. And this is the thing that I'm confused about Prince Andrew, is that Princess Beatrice was the one that didn't corroborate his story that he was at Pizza Express in Woking. She's like, I have no recollection of that. So even Princess Beatrice, I wonder if she's actually on her dad's side or not, or is she just afraid of him? But she did basically said, I don't remember Prince Andrew being at Pizza Express in Woking. So here's some news that just came out yesterday, and I'm trying to give as many updates as I can possible that's breaking news. So thank you so much for being here. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about this. Please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you never miss a live. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. Seeing how many people are here really makes me happy. I'm so happy. Thank you so much. So Queen could be asked to help fund a settlement between Prince Andrew and Virginia Roberts in the spaghetti suit as his lawyers refuse to rule out deal. So the Queen could be asked to basically fund the settlement. And there's some good news for you guys, because the Queen says no, but also Prince Andrew's accuser, who we're talking a lot about here, won't accept the payout. So let's just say there is a payout for the accusers for Prince Andrew. They're not going to accept it because this is some queen behavior. Virginia Giuffre is a queen. She writes, Prince Andrew's accuser had sought $5 million to settle out of court, but will no longer accept a potential payout because she wants the case to go to trial. So Virginia Roberts Giuffre is suing the 61-year-old UK royal for allegedly using her services 3 times, starting when she was just 17. So sources told the Telegraph that she initially sought a settlement of $5 million from Andrew, which the Queen will help pay, apparently. Or there's some reports that she won't pay 10 times the $500,000 she got from Jeffrey Epstein. But now that the case looks like it's going to trial later this year, the longtime accuser is no longer willing to settle out of court. Giuffre basically says that she wants to bring this guy to court because she wants everybody to know his dirty laundry. And thank you so much, Giuffre, for that, because we want to know what the royals are up to behind closed doors. I think the public has the right to know about what they're up to. And you know what? Queen Elizabeth is not going to, it's turning her back up against her favorite son, Prince Andrew. So Queen Elizabeth is not going to help him. And the reason for that, Prince Andrew now has to sell his $17 million chalet, and he has sold it to help pay for his legal fees for his Hollywood lawyer. And everybody's turning his backs against him. And inside the effort to compensate the 225 Jeffrey Epstein accusers is basically a lot of issues with that because it's so messy. There's so many people coming forward, and the same thing is going to happen with Prince Andrew. This is his chalet. Let's look at it. Very last few times we're going to be looking at it. It's beautiful. It's $17 million. Even if Terry Ferguson writes, even if it gets tossed out, it will still be a bad look for the royal family. There's already fallout and suspicion fed into by Republicans. Exactly. So I mean, this is not, even if it doesn't go to civil lawsuit, the damage has been done. Diana bought William 3 supermodels when he was 10. He was a child when she died. Prince William is known to have an affair with Rose Hanbury, his best friends, and that actually gets squashed every time by, Rose Hanbury is Duchess of Cambridge's, who is Kate Middleton's best friend. And Rose Hanbury is married to a boomer. And there's speculation that they actually have a love child together. And that story keeps getting squashed by the news reporters as well. So we're just looking at the chalet. And this is something else I wanted to talk about is censorship. Censorship is absolutely a huge issue here. Let's listen to what one of the reporters had to say. So,
story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
So yeah, I just want to point out here that journalist is essentially saying all these stories are getting covered up by the monarchy. People are being scared to talk about these stories. People don't want to talk about these stories because the moment they do, they're shut up by Prince Andrew. As we all know from Prince Andrew, he is known to rule with an iron fist. He is known to shut people up who talk about these stories. He wants people not coming forward, but this Carolyn is coming forward and talking about how she can corroborate Prince Andrew's story that he had altercations with Virginia Giuffre. So no one can support Prince Andrew about his alibi that he was at Pizza Express and Woking. Not even his own daughter. Not even his own daughter can back her dad up. She says there's no story that he was at Pizza Express and Woking. There's no story. His own security, which he's known to pay a lot for, Handy Andy, Air Miles Andy, you know, he is known to spend a lot of money on security. So how is it that he went to Pizza Express and Woking and there's no security that can corroborate this third-party story? There's no one backing it up. Everybody has turned their backs on him, including his own mother. Queen Elizabeth stood her ground, and you know, there was a lot of speculation from the start that the only way Duke of Pork or Duke of York will lose his title is if Queen Elizabeth passes on. And we don't want that. We want Queen Elizabeth to stand her ground, put her foot down against her son. Queen Elizabeth, if you're watching, you cannot let your son hide behind your skirt any longer. You have to put your foot down. You have to teach him how to be a proper Duke of York and take responsibility for your actions. There's no more hiding behind your skirts. There's no more you paying his bills. He gets paid $325,000 a year for not doing his job. He is worth millions. He now only has to sell his chalet. This guy should have been cut off long ago. It took a huge civil lawsuit to do this. Virginia Giuffre, you are a legend. Thank you so much for bringing this into the court, for basically everybody to see Duke of York's dirty laundry that he has been trying to hide for many, many years. You know, he tried to say he didn't sweat. There's tons of pictures of him sweating. Well, Prince Andrew, you're sweating now. You're sweating now. The victims are truly brave for coming forward and make a stand. From South Africa, Isabel Holden us. Rock on, Joe. Shaker Hart writes, he will lose his title. I hope so. BHTV writes, click on me, you will see. All right, guys. I'm going to read your chats. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys some more. This is my doggy right here. She is sleeping right now. We are fans of the Queen around here. The Queen has been through enough. The Queen has been through enough. She lost Prince Philip. So God save the Queen. I really hope that, you know, this is all about protecting Queen Elizabeth right now. I want her to basically not have anybody do her any wrong anymore. She's been through enough. And the way the monarchy has treated women throughout this reign, you know, we have Princess Diana, how she was treated. We've all seen the Netflix special. Absolutely horrible. We saw but Meghan Markle, how she was treated by the monarchy. And now we have Virginia Giuffre. And I think enough is enough. We need these women to take a stand and show them who's boss. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in and watching me. I really feed off everybody's energy here, and it really means a lot for everybody here. So please make sure you subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss a live. I really appreciate everybody hanging out with me, and you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. What does CBC stand for on his hat? Someone asked. CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. So you guys have the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. We have the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And again, going back to media censorship, I did a whole video on how the BBC was censoring this story and how they actually went ahead and interviewed Alan Dershowitz, who is actually being accused by Virginia Giuffre with the same allegations as Prince Andrew, to basically defend Ghislaine Maxwell, which is absolutely ridiculous that they would do that. So BBC, you're on the line too for all the scandals and how you're trying to hide what the monarchy is really about. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. I love you guys all. Stay safe out there. Stay alert. And, you know, I look forward to reading all your comments, and you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. I love you all.